What's up?
What up?
I got a couple of questions for you. I thought it would be interesting if we kind of did it like a this or that type of deal, drink, sip, answer if you want to. I just realized I don't have my wedding ring on. I should probably get that.
I know you're married.
I'm in the house. I'm in the house.
It's okay. Mine's not on either.
Oh, but it is because it's on
Well,
your neck.
technically, yeah. My wedding ring is my necklace, so yeah.
Look at
Oops,
you.
sorry if I hit the microphone.
Oh, actually, it's right behind me. Hi, I'm not about to be played today. Not today. All right, but I want to ask you a couple of questions. And this is going to be like a trial run, our first time doing something like this. So
all right.
I'm going to start with something easy because I feel like the more that we do this, the more I can do a little bit more research on some of the games you play, get more in depth. But we're going to start with something that I know.
Which is what?
Marvel movies.
Marvel?
Marvel.
Just Marvel, no DC.
Just Marvel.
Okay.
And so I pulled some questions and I want to know this or that. Like, I want to know who you prefer over the other person. And then if you don't want to answer, feel free to take a sip of whatever sponsor wants to come and sponsor us. Okay, so Marvel, I'm going to start off with something real easy. Iron Man or Thor?
Dang. All right, that's not easy. I like them both in different ways, but Robert Downey, perfect choice. Oh, you said movies, right? We're not just talking about just character comics. You're just talking about the movies.
Actually, we're talking about the character. Like, give me the character.
Oh, like for the comics.
Yeah.
I was like, the tough one was the movies. I said, because they both was good.
Nah, like, I want to know, like, Iron Man or Thor.
Okay, Thor.
So characters, Marvel superhero characters.
I thought when you was talking about Marvel, we were talking about the universe of Endgame, Thanos, the movies and stuff, not the comic. You did history lessons on the comic books? This should be interesting.
No, I did not do history lessons on
comic books. Oh, so we're doing the movies then.
We're doing actually, I just want to know character, who you prefer. Who would beat the other?
Oh, well.
So this can be comic book or it can be movie. Well, I guess wherever you want to take it. But
you know the movies, so
I know the movies.
All right, so, yes. But who can beat the other is Thor, but who do I, because that's easy, anybody knows that. But even in the first Avengers, you saw Thor looked at, and if Captain America didn't stop him, he would have destroyed Iron Man. But,
yeah.
Character-wise, who I like, Robert Downey, amazing casting for Iron Man, Tony Stark. Chris Hemsworth the same way. I gotta ignore Love and Thunder, that terrible Thor movie.
The worst.
That was terrible.
The worst Marvel movie.
Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm. That was terrible. But Iron Man 2 and 3 was no big prize either. It was no Love and Thunder though, so I won't disrespect them that way. Dang. I would say Iron Man, but I'm thinking about Avengers Infinity War, that moment of heartfelt that Thor had with Rocket Raccoon, talking about Loki and how much he loves. That's why Love and Thunder didn't make sense. Because how you come from that to Love and Thunder?
Yeah.
Him getting payback on Thanos and him scarred because he didn't take his head off. And then in Endgame he did. And then his result is that it just didn't make sense. But anyway, I can relate a lot to Thor, so I would say Thor.
Okay, that actually caught me by surprise.
Yes,
you talk about how much you love Robert Downey Jr. and like his story and like he's the perfect Iron Man.
Thor, after removing Love and Thunder, was written perfectly, from the first one to Ragnarok and Avengers Endgame and all that. The goofy stuff in Love and Thunder, I don't know whose idea that was. That just messed up the whole arc. But not thinking about it. Shout out to Chris Hemsworth, did a good job for Thor. So I would say him.
Okay, interesting. Loki versus Doctor Strange.
And again, this is who I like as a character.
Yes.
Okay, because honestly, I don't want to go into who can beat who, because that's I like Loki. The character, the actor choice, his arc with him and Thor, which brings back another Love and Thunder thing. The issue with it was that Loki wasn't in it as well, because the best things about the Thor movies was him and Loki's relationship. So you really felt it that he wasn't in there. And honestly, if I was the actor of Loki, I'd be grateful I wasn't in that movie because that one was terrible, and I wouldn't want to be in that project anyway. But he's doing well with the shows, and even the way he stood up to Thanos, even at the end of that life, you know, the arc from first Thor all the way to Thanos snapping his neck was great. And then he's doing great with the TV shows. I'm interested to see how he's with Kang, because now he's the next one meeting with Kang. But yeah, I'll just say Loki. Shout out to Doctor Strange is great. I like the actor choice. Honestly, yeah, but Loki takes it.
Okay. This one is going to be probably, no, actually, I was going to say it's going to be a 3-part, but I'm going to just simplify this as much as possible. Captain America or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Because I was going to say the other Tom Holland Spider-Man or the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, but
I like how you're mixing it up.
You could ask it. You could do it in like 3 different.
That's an interesting mix-up there. I would say Tobey Maguire, because Tobey Maguire is my childhood that built what Marvel is now. A lot of people have to give credit to Tobey Maguire. Even kids who probably wasn't born in that era, people who was born in my era, give credit to Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman for building what it is now. They're the reason Marvel is a success. And Wesley Snipes, because I hate how Marvel is just looking past Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. That's why, as much as I like Black Panther, I hated how they kept saying he was the first black superhero. No, Marvel's first black superhero was Blade, Wesley Snipes. Yeah. So I'm going to give you your flowers, Wesley Snipes. But from them two, Tobey Maguire laid the foundation with Hugh Jackman and the rest of the X-Men. I want to give credit to all the X-Men, Patrick Stewart and Magneto and all them guys, built the foundation of who Marvel is in their heyday. I don't want to give them credit for this stuff they're making now, but the good times. And so it was nice to see him in that recent Spider-Man movie when they brought him and Andrew Garfield. Yeah. So Tobey Maguire, thank you. And Chris Evans though as Captain America, nothing wrong with that. But he just didn't have that. He didn't build a foundation like Tobey Maguire did. So I will always give him that credit. So yeah, Tobey Maguire.
Fair. It's funny that you mentioned Magneto, because that actually goes into my next pairing. Magneto or Dr. Xavier?
The superhero, or are you talking about actors' choices?
Both.
Because I've
watched the comics. I've watched those comics with you, the animated comics. So like, I say what comes to mind.
Acting-wise, both Magnetos were great. The older one, and when they brought the newer or the younger one, they both was great. And the same with Professor Xavier. I think the actors for Magneto did a better job than the Xavier.
Dr. Xavier?
Professor Xavier. It's okay. Professor X. People know what you're talking about. But so they both was great. But if I had to choose, I always said when I was younger that I would love to be Magneto outside of being a villain.
Okay.
Just his swagger. I forgot what Ian McKellen. I forgot who played Magneto. The older one is the name. But his swagger, I remember when I first saw him, I'm like, he is too old to play Magneto. But then I actually watched the movie. He has the best swagger of a villain. He was so cool. Even then they brought the new actor, the younger version, and he was just as cool. I just loved his swagger with all the movies. He stole the scene. And that's why I give credit to the Michael Fassbender, because he kept the mantle of stealing the scene as Magneto. Like, even as terrible as that Dark Phoenix X-Men movie was, people gave credit to Magneto in that movie because he still did his thing.
I would be interested in doing one of these for Best Villain. So, remind me of that.
Okay, Best Villain? Okay.
Like, of anything, like Best Villain, like comparing the best villains of all time. I would be interested in that.
So yeah, I would have to say Magneto. Sure. And in the comics, I always loved Magneto more. As much as I respect Charles Xavier, in the comics, he was very boring to me. He was a cool mentor, but he was boring. He had it was just the same. Nothing against the character, but if I had to choose one or the other, Magneto had more to him. Even his story arc with his kids, with Scarlet Witch and all this other stuff. And then in the movies, I love Patrick Stewart, but it was a huge gap. Magneto, the actor on both sides, was always better than Professor Xavier. So that's just me. But yeah.
Interesting. All right. Deadpool or Wolverine?
So, you know, Wolverine's one of my favorite.
I know.
But I love Deadpool.
I
I love
know.
Deadpool before the movies. I was one of the people that said Ryan Reynolds before he was even cast as Deadpool. I was like, Ryan Reynolds would be great as Deadpool. And he is. It's funny because the movie's coming out.
Think wisely. Think hard about this.
Comics and movies, they're both great. I love them both for different reasons, but I have to say both.
You get to pick one, or you take a sip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna drink this, but again, Hugh Jackman, like Tobey Maguire, laid the foundation. But I'm looking at even before the movies came out, I was always into both, and they both are just as great as they are in the movies. They both had great video games, separate ones. Wolverine had his own and Deadpool had his own. They both was great to me. They both was in Ultimate Alliance. So even video game, like everywhere they went, cartoon, comics, movies, video games, they was always great to me.
But if you
the only difference is Hugh Jackman laid the foundation, like I said. But you can also say that Ryan Reynolds did too, for R-rated superheroes.
Yes.
Because yes, Blade was one of them, but
wasn't Watchmen R-rated though?
Yeah, it didn't lay a foundation. It's still one of the most underappreciated movies of all time. But Deadpool came out the gate, you know. And then you saw Joker, and then you saw, but Blade did it too. But it was a huge gap from that movie to whatever movies after it. Once Deadpool came out, they started doing them right after other movies after that. Blade was successful, but it was nothing else like it. Spawn didn't do that well. All these other ones didn't do well. So you could say they both laid the foundation just in different ways for R-rated superheroes and regular superheroes. That scene in the mansion with Wolverine and X-Men 2 was probably one of my most favorite superhero moments ever. I gotta say both though. They have a 10 out of 10 for me. I'm interested. I look forward to seeing the movie with them too. But yeah.
All right, that's the first one that tripped you up. Got a sip in. All right. So my next one, Mystique or Black Widow? Yeah, go ahead.
I did. It was a shot.
Yeah, I know. I was like, go ahead.
I usually sip it a little salted. All right, what you say?
Mystique or Black Widow?
Black Widow.
Why?
Just for the fact of how Marvel and Disney disrespected her. I hated that. They gave a lot of credit to Iron Man for Endgame. And people tend to forget, if it wasn't for Black Widow's sacrifice, Iron Man would have never been in that position. Somebody had to die in that scene for them to get the stone. But after that little cry scene that Hawkeye and Hawk had, they didn't mention her at all again. And then it was like they disrespected her with her movie, how they really, it was a lot of, I don't know if they had a personal thing with the actress. I'm not going to get into people's personal lives, but Black Widow was one of the first people to lay the foundation. They even Disney had a new thing, a show come out, I think it was last year or the year before, but it was showcasing, I think it was the women of Marvel. And if my memory serves me correctly, they didn't really show Black Widow. And it was like, how do you not do that in the cover?
Yeah, she wasn't
there.
You didn't talk about her.
Yeah, and that was, so you saw, oh, yeah, that's very disrespectful. But she was the first female superhero in Marvel. Yeah, the first one.
That had a lot to do with like the relationship with the actor.
That had to be, but still, you can't do that to the fans because it's about Black Widow. Personally, Scarlett Johansson's life is her life. I'm not going to get into that. That's her, I'm talking about Black Widow. Black Widow's the reason Zoe Saldana as Gamora. Gamora. Yeah, Gamora, Scarlet Witch, all these female superheroes. She's the foundation of it.
Yeah, she opened the door.
Yeah. And because she did it, she was good. I remember when it first came out of Iron Man 2, at first people thought it was going to be corny because Black Widow doesn't, I don't know if you know it, but she's Russian. And so the fact they got her, and so, but she didn't act Russian at all in the Iron Man movie. So people was like, they just trying to find a cute face. But then she came out and was successful with it. And I was happy for it. But yeah, she's the first. But they literally, even in Endgame, I remember when I finished the movie, as much as I liked it, I'm like, they're not going to give. They really just push Scarlet Witch to the side. Hey, thanks for your service. Goodbye. So I'm gonna say, just out of that alone, they both were great in the movies, but just out of respect, Scarlet Witch is what built and helped Marvel and Disney for all the female characters.
That's respect.
So thank you, Scarlett Johansson. You did your thing. And Disney, that's wrong. I was like, that's wrong. You can't do that. I don't care what personal thing you have. Scarlet Witch is the reason a lot of female superheroes, whether they're good or bad, because all of them ain't good, but she paved the way for it. And I hope she knows that, Scarlett Johansson. I hope she knows that when you get old, 20-some years down the line, hopefully you know that you was one of the main reasons that female superheroes thrived.
That's respect.
So, yes, thank you.
Staying on the female lane for a minute, Jean Grey or Storm?
Storm, but it's for an interesting reason.
Why?
Even as a kid, I always had a superhero crush on her. I used to like this lady who has my skin tone but white hair, and she had this very beautiful African accent. I used to think, and then she controlled it, how she came with her white eyes, and she came in, and then the movie spoiled me by having Halle Berry play it. I was like, because I loved Halle Berry, still love Halle Berry, but and the fact how she came in, I was just like, dang. They really spoiled me right now.
I think across the board, Storm was like the pinnacle of black female superhero for all black people because
she was one of them, yeah.
She was one of the first that we saw, so on television.
I heard that, I don't know how much of it is true, but I heard that if Chadwick Boseman was still alive, rest in peace, but they was building up to Black Panther and Aurora Monroe, which is her real name, meeting. Mm-hmm. That would have been interesting to see how that went.
Because isn't there a comic book where Black Panther and Storm?
Oh, they was married. Yeah, that was a big thing. That's how I first knew who Black Panther was.
Okay.
Because I didn't really read his comics much, but when I saw, because I read the X-Men, then when I saw that she was into this other guy and the Black Panther suit and everything, I was interested. I was like, who is this? But yeah. So Jean Grey is obviously more powerful. Mm-hmm. She turns to, then she turns to Phoenix and it's a whole, but my favorite comic, cartoon, video game, and I even like how she was in Midnight Suns, the video game, recent game, so I would just say Storm, just out of favoritism.
Okay. Let's say Avengers or X-Men?
Avengers.
You are really blowing my mind with some of these answers. I low-key thought
X-Men is nothing without Wolverine. Avengers is Avengers. There was some movies that they excluded Logan out of it, and it was not the same. Fair. I remember even comics. There were some things. I remember some comics that didn't have Logan in it, and I just closed the book. I just was not interested. And then Wolverine is one of my favorite superheroes of all time, and he is the X-Men. I mean, I remember for a long time before I actually studied the X-Men, I used to always thought X-Men was his name. Because I thought it was him and his men. Yeah. I was like, that was how I was a young kid at the time. But as much as I like the X-Men, they're nothing without Wolverine. Avengers is great regardless. Okay. They can have their separate movies and it's successful. X-Men can't go. I mean, it's been proven. Apocalypse was terrible. The Dark Phoenix was terrible. Even Magneto couldn't save the movies. But everybody would say Apocalypse was terrible, but the one great scene in Apocalypse was when Jean Grey met Wolverine. It was a cameo. And Wolverine, this is when Jean Grey saved him from Stryker's Island, and he was going crazy, killing all the... People said that was one of the best X-Men scenes ever, in the worst movie ever. So, it took him being in a little cameo for 10 minutes or 5 minutes for that movie to have any kind of traction. And it was just, but it's true. And then to have Hugh Jackman play it, which was amazing. But yeah, First Class was good. I think for me it was overhyped. It was good. Magneto made that movie, but it would never capture what Wolverine does for the X-Men, in my opinion. All right. As mediocre as Last Stand was, it was still great because of Wolverine. Wolverine scenes made it great. But, yeah, anyway.
But
I would say Avengers.
Okay. My last question, and this could be a twofold depending on which cast you select, but Guardians of the Galaxy or Fantastic Four?
If you asked me as a kid, I would have said Fantastic Four. The reason I say that is because I was never introduced to the recent garbage that came out of Fantastic Four. To the recent garbage. If I'd never, and I'll say even as an adult, if I'd never seen those other movies, and shout out to the act like Chris, the one who played Captain America, he was Human Torch at that time. They did what they could. I never would blame the actors because they only give a script. But man, those movies were rough though. When I look back at it, I'm like, you know, and then that one with Michael B. Jordan, oh man, that was rough. I hope with the new one they're making, Kevin Feige, I heard some cooking up. I hope that redeems it because they're gonna. Guardians of the Galaxy came in shocking people with how great it was story wise, like everything, the acting choices, and I knew who Guardians of the Galaxy was, but a lot of people didn't. Because it was one of them B, C rated heroes. And so for, you know, as much as I'm not a fan of what James Gunn did to DC, I will give him credit for what he did for Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, he took something that wasn't known and made it fantastic. Just 3 movies, and then there's how they got put into the Infinity War and Endgame. Even though I hated, and I heard, and I was glad to hear this, but I hated how when they had Thanos, they was about to win and take the glove off. Peter Quill messes it up because he heard of Gamora, and even Iron Man's like, "What the heck are you doing?" And then wakes him up because he's mad. I thought that was the dumbest writing ever. But then I heard that behind the scenes they had a different plan, and somebody's like, "No, we gotta do it like this." And so people wasn't agreeing with. They were like, "What? It's gonna look bad," and it did. Everybody, as great as the movie was, people was like, "So Thanos won because Peter Quill got in his feelings." This is no. This guy's about to take over and destroy half the population, and no offense, I know it hurts. The love of your life died, but you don't stop. The plan to stop this guy because you feel. Wait to after, then cry on his dead body or something like when he's dead. Then cry and beat him up or whatever you want to do. So that was dumb writing. But after hearing the behind the scenes that a lot of people even wasn't agreeing with it, but they had to go through it because the higher ups told them. I was like, okay. But
makes sense.
Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3 are all great movies. I'm glad they ended it there because you know how sometimes Marvel will just be leeching on the stuff even when the time is up instead of, you know, but they stopped it there. James Gunn's like, I'm going. That's it. I respect that. Again, don't like what he's doing to DC because they had something great with Zack Snyder's projects. But we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm going to stick to that. I have to choose Guardians of the Galaxy. Fantastic Four, it's a rough time. Like I said, if you ask the kid version, I thought the show was good. The comics were entertaining. I love Doctor Doom.
The movie was good.
The
kids movie. When we were kids, the first one.
I know what you're talking about.
I know
what?
The first one is better than the last one.
I mean, it's better. It doesn't make it any good. I was like, you know,
as a kid,
it's like, which punishment do you want more? Well, as a kid, you see it, but even then, I was like, the only cool thing was seeing how, because as a kid, when you see a guy say flame on and he turns, I was like, I wonder how they do that in movies. And the fact they showed, I thought that was cool, but the movie itself
when you're
was
a kid,
bad.
It was good.
Because I remember watching it, I'm like, I want to get more Human Torch. Well, let's get more Human Torch. I wanted to get like Dr. Doom. I like the actor for Dr. Doom. I thought he was underrated. But yeah. Then I remember when I went back, and I didn't know they had a 1990 or 92 Fantastic Four movie.
Really?
And it was bad. I was like, oh, I heard it was never released into theaters. It went straight to DVD because people knew it was bad from the get-go. Wow. And so I remember checking it out and went through that punishment. I was sitting there like...
Not the punishment.
But the funny thing was, I was like, I don't know what's worse. All these movies are bad. I think from the 91, the two with what's her name, Jessica Alba, and the one might be, I think all of them are terrible. And it was just like... But I give them credit for taking a risk. Because that is hard to do, you know. Yeah. So I'll give them that credit for those two ones that we saw. But, and to have Lawrence Fishburne coming as Silver Surfer. I thought Silver Surfer was cool. But the way they did Galactus, it was just, oh man, it was bad. I hope now with as much as all the technology is good now and they doing right this time. Choose the right actors, write a good script. But we'll see.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you for hanging out with me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I want to do some more of this or that. I know that's pretty much what people do, like this or that. But I want to do some more of this or that. I'm going to do some research, some of the games you play, some of the movies you watch, some of the music you listen to, just to see what the people think. So if y'all like this, like, subscribe, comment, put it all down there. We want to know what you think. Who was your favorite? Some of the things we ran through today: Iron Man or Thor, Loki or Doctor Strange, Captain America or Spiderman, Jean Grey or Storm, Xavier or Magneto, Deadpool or Wolverine, Mystique or Black Widow, Avengers or X-Men, and Guardians of the Galaxy or Fantastic Four. So let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. We should be back with another this or that sometime soon. And yeah, I appreciate you, honey, for hanging out with me.
No problem.
Bet.